The reason why you would want to sell on a lease option when you take subject to, the one thing I love about lease option, and I'll go through some of the benefits on the next slide, but I can't get into a lease option presentation here. But the buyer on a lease option is responsible for most, if not all, of the repairs. That's a critical factor in how I decide whether or not I want to sell my sub-2s as a lease option or just hold them as a straight rental. And you can see that in the second point there. To lease option it or not to lease option it. Okay, and if you don't understand, again, if you're brand new, to lease option just means to basically sell somebody something. It's basically a lease, and you give them the option to purchase it at a set price. Okay. The downside to it is that you are giving them a legal option to buy it at a certain price. And so you would definitely want to be cashed out or have the opportunity to be cashed out if you're going to give them an option. If you don't want them to cash you out and you love the existing financing that you're in, then you would not want to give them an option to be able to cash you out. You understand? So you'll see there, if I have good cash flow, which I do on this property on Billick, or if the property's in good condition, which it just so happens that this Billick meets both of those criteria, I want to hold it and keep it as a traditional rental in a sub-2. Why? Because I don't have a lot of deferred maintenance. I don't have a lot of stress. That house was built in 2011. Everything in there is only 10 years old. I've got another probably 5-10 years before there's any real major mechanical issues. Maybe not. You never know. Lightning can strike. But in general, that property's in pretty good condition. And so I'm not too concerned about repairs or maintenance or et cetera. If I find a property, if you find a sub-2 property where your cash flow is really thin, as in you're renting it for $1,000 and your payment's $925 or $875, and you don't have a lot of margin there, that's why a lease option would be great, because in that situation, you protect your cash flow, because in a lease option, it's basically pure cash flow. Because you're not responsible for repairs, you're going to have no other expenses outside of what you're renting it to them for and what your payment is for. Okay, you protect it. In addition to that, which we'll talk about on the next slide, is that you get option consideration up front on a lease option. It's kind of a bigger deposit, which kind of offsets the fact that you have such skinny margins on the deal, and the fact that you may have to come out of pocket on some big repairs. That's why you'd want to do it's just me giving them an option to basically cash me out of that financing, but I'm moving my risk and mitigating my risk over to them because it's kind of a skinny deal or there's some deferred maintenance on the property. Hopefully you get that and understand why we would do that. Okay, so anyway, that's how I decide on a sub-2 whether I want to just hold it or whether I want to sell it on a lease option. Kind of depends on the cash flow and the condition of the property, and if I want to move some of that risk over to the person that's buying it as a lease option.